Ladies and gentlemen, what if I told you that the most dangerous man in the room isn't the loudest, the busiest, or the flashiest? It's the one you're not even looking at, the one you call lazy, but who's quietly planning something far bigger than you can imagine. We live in a world that worships hustle and glorifies grind. Society tells you that if you're not constantly moving, you're failing. But what if stillness isn't failure? It's focus. What if solitude isn't isolation? It's incubation. There's a certain kind of man that terrifies the world, not because he's aggressive or chaotic, but because he's calm, calculated, and unpredictable. He doesn't chase trends. He doesn't explain himself. He's labeled lazy because he refuses to perform for attention, but inside, he burns with silent ambition. This video is for that man, the one who moves in the shadows, the one who listens more than he speaks, the one who rests like a warrior sharpening his blade because he knows the battle is coming. If you've ever felt misunderstood, underestimated, or labeled simply because your path looks different, then sit tight. This message is for you. The paradox of the lazy, ambitious man. Ladies and gentlemen, imagine this. A man with dreams so massive they could shake the very ground he walks on. But he sits still. He doesn't chase them the way society expects. He doesn't hustle loudly. He's not screaming rise and grind at 5 a.m. Yet, something about him makes people uncomfortable. Why? Because this man carries a dangerous combination: vision without visible effort. And in a world that worships constant activity and rewards public struggle, this type of man is unsettling. He breaks the rules. He doesn't follow the standard success blueprint. And worst of all, for society, he's not asking for permission. The lazy, ambitious man is not truly lazy in spirit. His laziness is misunderstood. It's not about sloth or a lack of drive. It's about a different kind of movement. He moves in silence. He plans in solitude. He dreams loudly in his own mind, not on social media. And when he acts, it's often decisive, calculated, and impactful. Society fears him because he cannot be predicted. He doesn't run in the rat race, but he still intends to win. See, this kind of man doesn't need to be seen sweating to be dangerous. His ambition simmers beneath the surface. He might not chase success the conventional way, but that doesn't mean he isn't building something extraordinary. And that's where the fear comes in, because he challenges the narrative that hard work must be loud, that ambition must be relentless, and that success must come at the cost of burnout. The lazy, ambitious man thinks for himself. He resists being rushed. He doesn't chase validation through productivity. He might read for hours, walk aimlessly, or stare at the sky, but in those moments, he is formulating, constructing, designing his empire mentally. He refuses to let society define his rhythm. And that independence, that nonconformity, it's terrifying to a world that depends on control. Let's not confuse him with someone who lacks discipline. No, he simply doesn't waste energy on what doesn't align with his vision. He might be calm on the outside, but inside there's a storm of ideas, plans, and relentless curiosity. And when he finally moves, when he finally acts, it's with power that shakes everything around him. Not because he's loud, but because he's precise. This man doesn't waste his life on proving himself to others. He knows who he is. And that quiet confidence, that refusal to play the game the way others expect, that's what makes him dangerous. Society cannot manipulate a man who doesn't seek its approval. It cannot control a man who is building in silence. So yes, the lazy, ambitious man is feared. Because when he rises, he does so without warning. And when he wins, he does so without apology. Society's obsession with hustle and its hatred for stillness. We live in a world addicted to motion. To be busy is to be valuable. To be overworked is to be noble. Society has created a narrative that hustle is the only path to success. And if you're not running yourself into the ground, you're doing something wrong. People glorify burnout, confuse exhaustion for excellence, and idolize the struggle rather than the strategy. So, when a man appears who doesn't move with that frantic energy, when a man chooses stillness over speed, he's not just dismissed, he's demonized. Because stillness, to a society driven by appearances, looks like laziness. But stillness is not the absence of growth. It's the foundation of intention. It's where vision gets refined. It's where real power is born. The lazy, ambitious man doesn't rush because he's not desperate. He knows that planting a seed is not the same as harvesting fruit, and he's wise enough to know which season he's in. He doesn't chase opportunities, he prepares for them. And that patience, that calm focus, makes people nervous. It breaks the rhythm they've been programmed to obey. Society fears him because he is proof that success doesn't always scream. He's proof that you don't have to sacrifice your peace to pursue greatness. And that terrifies a world that tells you, if you're not constantly grinding, you're being left behind. But here's the truth. Movement alone doesn't equal progress. There are millions of people moving fast, right into burnout, into regret, into a life they never wanted. The lazy, ambitious man resists that trap. He watches, he listens, he thinks, and in doing so, he preserves his energy for what truly matters. See, society wants predictable patterns. Wake up, work, grind, sleep, repeat. And when someone steps out of that matrix, when someone chooses quality over quantity, depth over speed, purpose over panic, threaten the entire system because they prove there's another way, a smarter way, a quieter but more powerful way. That's why society attacks them, labels them, questions their worth, because stillness is a rebellion, thoughtfulness is resistance, and rest, when used intentionally, is a revolutionary act. The lazy, ambitious man doesn't want to impress the crowd. He's not fueled by applause, he's fueled by purpose. And that purpose doesn't demand he run with the pack. It demands he build his own path, at his own pace, and in his own time. So society will continue to misunderstand him. It will call him unmotivated. It will call him lazy. But the truth is, he is simply untamed, unshackled, and unwilling to sell his soul for the illusion of success. And that's what makes him powerful. The power of intentional inaction. There's a big difference between doing nothing and doing nothing on purpose. The lazy, ambitious man is not idle by accident. He's not lost. He's not confused. He is still by design. His inaction is not apathy. It is awareness. It is observation. It is preparation. But most people don't see that because they've been taught to equate motion with meaning. Intentional inaction is a secret weapon. It's the art of stepping back to see the full picture. While everyone else is running full speed into the wall, the lazy, ambitious man is standing still, studying the blueprint, and quietly mapping out the door. That stillness is not weakness, it is control. It's the ability to delay gratification, resist distractions, and focus on what matters most. This man knows that not every battle needs to be fought. Not every opportunity needs to be chased. He doesn't follow the crowd because he understands the cost of misaligned action. He's not trying to win today, he's trying to win right. And that difference makes all the difference. Society doesn't like this kind of power because it can't be manipulated. It can't be measured by busy schedules or flashy productivity. The lazy, ambitious man doesn't work to be seen. He works to be effective. And if that means sitting in silence for a season to gather clarity, then he does it, without guilt. Most people are afraid of stillness because they can't sit with themselves. They're afraid of what will surface in the silence. But the lazy, ambitious man embraces that silence. He dives into it. He uses it to hear the voice of his true self. And that level of self-awareness makes him unstoppable. Intentional inaction is not about being passive. It's about being selective. It's not about refusing to move. It's about refusing to move in the wrong direction. It takes more strength to say no to the noise than it does to blind. Life follow the herd. The lazy, ambitious man is not in a rush because he knows what he's building takes time, and he's okay with that. He's not lazy because he lacks ambition. He's lazy because he refuses to waste his ambition on meaningless motion. That's what society can't comprehend. They look at him and see a man who's not grinding, not hustling, not proving, and they assume he lacks drive. But what he really lacks is desperation. And that's rare, that's powerful, that's dangerous. When you move with intention instead of impulse, the world calls you lazy. But the wise know better. They know that silence is strategy, that stillness is strength, and that the man who can sit quietly with his thoughts is often the one who makes the loudest impact in the end. So let the world misunderstand. The lazy, ambitious man doesn't need validation. He just needs vision and the discipline to act only when the time is right. He's not in the race. He's building the track. The lazy, ambitious man terrifies society because he refuses to participate in the rat race. He's not interested in climbing someone else's ladder or chasing rewards that were never designed for his soul. While everyone else is sprinting in circles, burning themselves out for the illusion of success, this man has stepped away. Not to quit, but to create. He's not in the race because he's building the track. He's designing his own lane. And that level of self-direction is deeply threatening to a world that thrives on conformity. Society expects you to be desperate for validation, to beg for opportunities, to sacrifice your peace just to be seen. But the lazy, ambitious man rewrites the rules. He doesn't knock on doors. He builds his own. This man sees through the game. He recognizes the difference between productivity and purpose. He understands that being busy doesn't mean being fulfilled. That motion without meaning is just movement without progress. And so he steps away from the chaos to craft something better, something that aligns with who he truly is. Society fears this because it can't control it. You see, when you play by the rules, they can predict you. They know how to distract you, how to exhaust you, how to keep you chasing a moving target. But when you step out of the game entirely, when you say, "I'll build my own system," suddenly they lose their power over you. That's where true freedom lives, in choosing your own pace, your own path, your own process. The lazy, ambitious man isn't lazy at all. He's patient, he's strategic. He's willing to wait in obscurity while he lays a foundation that will last longer than any trend or title. He doesn't want quick success. He wants real success, the kind built slowly, deliberately, and with depth. The kind that requires vision, solitude, and trust in timing. And for that, the why. Old mocks him until it needs him, until the same people who laughed at his stillness come back asking for the blueprint to his peace. He's not in competition with anyone. He's in alignment with himself. That's why he doesn't move with panic. That's why he doesn't crave applause. He knows who he is and where he's going. And if that means sitting still while others sprint, he'll do it without flinching. Because while they're wearing themselves out chasing relevance, he's quietly building legacy. In a society obsessed with instant results, this man's greatest threat is that he plays the long game. And in the long game, discipline always beats desperation. So no. He's not running your race. He's not trying to win your trophy. He's building something of his own, and that's exactly why he can't be stopped. He redefines what success really means. The lazy, ambitious man doesn't just live differently, he thinks differently. And that scares people. Why? Because he doesn't subscribe to society's narrow definition of success. He's not chasing job titles, followers, or applause. He's chasing freedom, alignment, and peace. That kind of ambition is disruptive. It makes people question their own path. And that's uncomfortable. We live in a world where success is packaged neatly. Hustle 24/7, get promoted, buy the car, take the vacation, post the highlights, repeat. But this man dares to ask, is this all there is? While others are too afraid to pause and question the system, he stops altogether and rewrites the script. And in doing so, he exposes a hard truth. Much of what we consider success is actually survival in disguise. To him, success isn't about being busy. It's about being intentional. It's not about earning more. It's about needing less. It's not about impressing others. It's about respecting yourself. This flips the table on everything society has taught us. Because if more people thought like him, the economy of ego would collapse. The industries that prey on insecurity would crumble. And that's why society fears him, because he is proof that another way exists. He values time over trophies. He chooses solitude over spotlight. He invests in his well-being the way others invest in trends. He reads, thinks, reflects, while others scroll, rush, and react. To the outside world, he may look lazy, but in reality, he's deeply connected to a truth that most people are too distracted to even sense. And here's the thing. The lazy, ambitious man doesn't try to convert anyone. He's not preaching. He's not begging others to understand. He simply is. And that quiet confidence threatens the fragile egos of those who equate success with speed and noise. Because when you're at peace with your path, you highlight the chaos in others. That's why they call him lazy, because they don't know how to label someone they can't control. He measures success in presence, in peace, in freedom of thought. He's not bound by deadlines that destroy joy or routines that kill creativity. He gives himself space to grow, to evolve, to dream without judgment. And that kind of life, one rooted in authenticity, makes others restless. It forces them to confront the emptiness of their grind. So society mocks him, dismisses him, underestimates him, but deep down it envies him. Because beneath the surface, most people want what he has, the courage to define success on their own terms. And that's the revolution, not in yelling louder, but in choosing quieter, not in racing harder, but in walking wiser. The lazy, ambitious man isn't a failure of society, he's the evolution of it. He is a reminder that success doesn't have to be loud to be real, and that the greatest ambition is to be free. He doesn't perform for validation, and that's threatening. The lazy, ambitious man has broken free from one of society's most powerful chains, the need for validation. He doesn't chase applause, likes, or approval. He doesn't bend his personality to fit in rooms he doesn't belong to. And because he's not performing for others, he becomes unpredictable, uncontrollable. That makes people uncomfortable. Society teaches us early on that worth must be earned through constant performance. Be impressive, be productive, be likable, smile when you're sad, hustle when you're tired, say yes when you want to say no. It's all a performance, a theater of exhaustion. But this man, he walks off the stage, and that act alone is rebellion. You see, when a man stops performing, he becomes real. And realness is rare. Realness is raw. Realness is magnetic, but also terrifying to those who have built their identities around pretending. That's why the lazy, ambitious man gets misunderstood. He's called antisocial, arrogant, or lazy. But the truth is, he just refuses to dance for validation that doesn't feed his soul. When he speaks, he means it. When he acts, it's intentional. When he's silent, it's powerful. People who depend on external validation to feel alive can't handle that kind of self-assuredness because they think, if he doesn't care what others think, how do I matter in his world? The answer is simple. You don't. Not unless you bring something real to the table. He's not rude. He's not dismissive. He's just done compromising his peace to make others feel comfortable. He no longer sacrifices authenticity for approval, and when people see that, they either admire him or resent him. There is no middle ground. You'll find him turning down opportunities that don't align with his values, walking away from conversations that drain him, not responding to provocation, not entertaining drama. That's power, because it takes far more strength to walk away quietly than to fight just to be seen. He knows who he is when no one's watching, and that's what makes him unstoppable. He doesn't dress for attention, post for praise, or show up just to be seen. He operates from an inner compass, a place most people never reach because they're too busy begging for crumbs of attention from a world that's starving for depth. The lazy, ambitious man doesn't need the spotlight because he is the light, calm, steady, self-sustained. And that's why society fears him. Because when a man no longer needs to be clapped for, he becomes free. When a man no longer seeks permission, he becomes dangerous. And when a man no longer performs for approval, he becomes untouchable. He's a master of selective energy, and that's misunderstood. The lazy, ambitious man doesn't burn out because he knows how to preserve his energy. In a world obsessed with constant motion, he moves with calculated intention. He doesn't act for the sake of appearing busy. He acts when it matters, and that's terrifying to a society addicted to hustle culture. You see, most people confuse exhaustion with achievement. They believe that running on empty means they're doing something right. But the lazy, ambitious man knows better. He understands that being drained isn't a badge of honor. It's a symptom of misplaced priorities. He's not lazy because he lacks ambition. He's lazy because he refuses to waste his power on things that don't move him forward. Every move he makes is strategic. Every effort is chosen. While others scatter their energy trying to impress, prove, or compete, he sits still and watches. He waits for the right moment, and when he strikes, it's with precision. One action of his can outmatch 100 frantic efforts of those who rush without thinking. And because of that, people label him as inconsistent or unmotivated. They say he could be doing more, without realizing he's already doing exactly enough in the right direction. He doesn't answer every call, accept every invitation, or chase every trend. He guards his time and energy like sacred currency, because to him it is. This selective energy is mistaken for laziness by those who can't see the deeper strategy. But it's power in its purest form. It's the discipline of knowing that you don't have to show up everywhere to make an impact. You don't have to shout to be heard. You don't have to run to reach your destination. Sometimes power is found in stillness. in restraint, in knowing when not to act. He's not afraid to say no, not afraid to rest, not afraid to miss out. That alone threatens the world that He thrives on fear of falling behind. His pace is not driven by pressure, it's driven by purpose. And here's the truth, society isn't just uncomfortable with stillness, it's scared of it. Because a man who is calm in the storm cannot be manipulated by panic. He cannot be coerced by urgency. He moves when he chooses, not when the world demands. And that's what gives him the edge. He is not lazy. He is deliberate. He is not slow. He is patient. He is not passive. He is calculating. And when you live in a world where everyone is sprinting to nowhere, the man who walks with clarity is a silent threat. Because while others are burning out for applause, he's building quietly in the background, waiting, preparing. And when he finally steps forward, the world won't be ready. He doesn't seek validation. He moves in silence. Validation is the currency most people unknowingly trade their dreams for. They post their goals online, seeking likes. They announce every move just to hear the claps. They wear their struggle like a trophy, hoping someone will recognize their hustle. But not the lazy, ambitious man. He doesn't care if you see his effort. He's not trying to prove anything to you. He moves in silence because he understands that validation is a distraction, a drug that gives a temporary high but kills long-term focus. You see, the lazy, ambitious man knows something most people ignore. When you seek validation, you give the world the power to shape your identity. You let other people's opinions dictate your direction. And once that happens, you're no longer walking your path. You're dancing for their approval. This man, he doesn't dance for anyone. He values privacy over praise. While society screams, "Show us your progress," he smiles quietly and continues building. He doesn't need applause to feel worthy. He doesn't need recognition to feel accomplished. His fulfillment comes from the vision he holds in his heart, not from the noise outside of him. And this is what unnerves people. A man who doesn't care about being seen is unpredictable. You can't read his moves. You don't know what motivates him. You don't know when he'll strike. And most importantly, you don't know how much he's already achieved because he's not broadcasting it. Society doesn't trust what it can't categorize. And when a man doesn't fit the mold of constant bragging, constant proving, constant performance, he's labeled as lazy, secretive, or aloof. But in truth, he's just free. Free from the need to impress, free from the pressure to perform, free from the chains of needing approval. And that freedom gives him power, because when you're not constantly looking over your shoulder to see who's watching, you move with confidence, you build with clarity, you grow without the noise. He operates like a shadow, silent, calm, unnoticed, until the results speak for themselves. And when they do, it's too late for the world to catch up. You can't predict a man who isn't performing for you. You can't outpace a man who isn't racing with you. And you definitely can't control a man who doesn't need you to validate his path. He understands that the loudest one in the room is often the most insecure, so he keeps his peace. He plays the long game. Because his ambition isn't about impressing, it's about impact. And when that impact comes, no one can deny it. Not even the society that once labeled him as lazy, because he's not interested in applause. He's building something so solid, so meaningful, that the silence around it is part of its power. So when he finally emerges, he doesn't need to say a word. The results will speak loud enough. His vision is bigger than their understanding. Most people dream within the limits of what they can see. They aim for what's realistic and achievable and normal. But the lazy, ambitious man, his vision stretches far beyond the boundaries society has set, and that scares people. Why? Because society is uncomfortable with what it doesn't understand. When a man holds a vision so vast, so unconventional, that it can't be easily explained in a sentence or posted in a status update, people begin to question his sanity. They call him delusional. They call him lazy because they don't see the traditional signs of progress. But what they don't realize is he's playing chess while they're stuck playing checkers. This man doesn't move with urgency to please the timelines set by society. He's not interested in showing quick wins or chasing shallow victories. His goals require time, space, and silence. He knows that true vision isn't something you rush, it's something you nurture. And nurturing takes discipline. To the outside world, he might look passive. He might look like he's doing nothing. But on the inside, he's strategizing, he's absorbing, he's preparing to strike with precision when the timing is right. You see, lazy ambition isn't about procrastination. It's about conservation of energy. It's about pouring your efforts into what actually matters instead of scattering them trying to impress others. His vision is so bold, it intimidates those who've already settled. When you have dreams that threaten the comfort zones of others, you're going to be met with resistance. People will mock what they don't have the courage to pursue. They'll downplay what they don't understand. Because if your dream is real, then their excuses are no longer valid. And that's why society fears him. They can't comprehend a man who doesn't need constant approval but still believes deeply in himself. They don't understand a man who seems to be standing still but is actually 10 steps ahead mentally. They call him lazy because they don't see the grind. But he's not grinding for visibility, he's grinding for legacy. Every day, his vision pulls him forward. Not the fear of being judged, not the pressure to be understood, not the need to keep up with others. His vision is personal, it's sacred, it was born in silence, and it will grow in silence. And when it manifests, the same people who questioned him will say, "I always knew he had it in him." But he won't say a word. He'll just smile. Because he knew all along, they couldn't see it. Not because it wasn't there, but because their minds were too small to hold something that big. So if you're a lazy, ambitious man, keep dreaming. Let their confusion be your confirmation. Because if they don't understand it, it's probably powerful enough to change everything. His detachment from the rat race is a threat. Society is built on hustle. It glorifies the grind. It praises those who wake up before dawn, burn themselves out, and wear exhaustion like a badge of honor. In this noisy, fast-paced world, the lazy, ambitious man stands out, not because he's loud, but because he's calm. He moves differently. He doesn't race others. He doesn't compete for approval. He's detached from the hamster wheel that most people are trapped on, and that makes him dangerous. See, most people measure success by how busy you are. They associate value with how much you can show for your time, how many hours you clocked, how many projects you're juggling, how many meetings you attended. But the lazy, ambitious man doesn't fall for that illusion. He knows that productivity doesn't equal purpose, that busyness isn't the same as progress. And most of all, he knows that running faster in the wrong direction only takes you further from your true path. That's why he steps off the track entirely. He doesn't want a trophy for who can burn out first. He wants peace, clarity, and focused execution. This detachment unsettles people, because if one man can succeed without stressing, grinding, or constantly performing, then what does that say about the rest of them? It shatters their belief that the only way to make it in life is to hustle endlessly and sacrifice their mental health along the way. His existence alone exposes the possibility that there's another way, a more intelligent, aligned, and intentional path. That kind of truth scares people who've committed their entire lives to the rat race. It's not that he doesn't work hard, it's that he works smart. He's selective about his energy. He doesn't chase every opportunity. He waits for the one that aligns. He doesn't need constant motion to feel important. His self-worth isn't tied to how much noise he makes. And in a world addicted to validation, that kind of inner stillness is both rare and threatening. The lazy, ambitious man isn't interested in running with the crowd. He's building quietly in the background on his own terms. While others exhaust themselves trying to be seen, he's becoming undeniable. This is the kind of man society can't control, because he isn't motivated by fear. He isn't afraid of being left behind. He isn't desperate to fit in. He's already free in his mind, and that's the first step toward real power. So while others compete for attention, he competes for clarity. While they chase money, he creates systems that generate it. While they rush to be first, he moves with purpose to last. The world may not understand him now. They may call him lazy, but in time they'll see the truth. He wasn't behind. He was just ahead of the game, walking. His silence speaks louder than their noise. In today's world, silence is often mistaken for weakness. People think if you're not shouting your success, posting every move online, or constantly proving yourself, you must not be doing much. But the lazy, ambitious man knows better. His silence isn't emptiness, it's discipline. His quietness isn't inactivity, it's strategy. While others broadcast their every thought, he studies. While others rush to speak, he listens. And while they need the world to see them working, he's content building in private. This man's silence is not just golden, it's disarming. It confuses people. It frustrates those who crave visibility and validation because they can't figure him out. They don't know what he's thinking. They can't predict his next move. And in a world obsessed with attention, being unreadable is power. He understands a universal truth. Real strength doesn't scream, it whispers. And real growth doesn't need an audience, it needs focus. He's not in a race to prove how hard he's working. He's in the business of getting results. And he knows results speak for themselves. The lazy, ambitious man uses silence as a weapon. He lets others underestimate him. He allows the noise around him to cloud their judgment. He lets people assume he's idle, lost, or unfocused, because when his actions finally speak, they shatter expectations. People forget that lions don't roar while hunting. They move with patience, precision, silence. The lazy, ambitious man is the same. He's not broadcasting every goal. He's not reacting to every comment. He's not explaining his every move. He's too focused on mastering the game. That's why his silence terrifies society, because in silence, there is control, there is confidence, there is calculation. And most people aren't used to someone who doesn't need their approval, applause, or permission. His quiet doesn't mean it. When he's asleep, it means he's awakening, planning, strategizing. And when the moment is right, he doesn't show up to talk, he shows up to deliver. You see, when everyone is busy making noise, the one who chooses silence holds all the leverage. He doesn't need to defend his ambition. He doesn't need to explain his methods. He just needs to keep moving forward with intention. And by the time the world hears from him, he's already won. So don't be fooled by his calmness. Don't mistake his quiet for lack of passion, because underneath that composed exterior lies a fire, focused, contained, and unshakable. In the end, it's not the man who yells the loudest who wins. It's the one who's been quietly building all along. The world underestimates him, and that's his greatest weapon. The lazy, ambitious man walks through life with a secret weapon, being underestimated. While the world celebrates hustle, performance, and outward intensity, this man is calmly, quietly rewriting the rules. He doesn't brag, he doesn't beg, he doesn't broadcast his vision, and because of that, people assume he's not a threat. That assumption? It's his camouflage. It gives him room to breathe, it gives him time to build, it gives him space to rise without resistance. Society has trained itself to only fear what is loud, fast, and in your face. So when a man moves at his own pace with stillness in his spirit and depth in his thoughts, he's overlooked. But what they fail to see is that beneath his calm exterior is a storm of determination. He may look laid back, but that doesn't mean he lacks ambition. In fact, it's quite the opposite. His ambition is so strong, it doesn't need an audience. It just needs a plan. The lazy, ambitious man knows something the world forgot. True power isn't reactive. It's strategic. He doesn't waste time trying to prove he belongs at the table. He's building his own table. And the people who laughed at him, doubted him, dismissed him, they'll be the same ones lining up to sit at it when it's done. Let them think he's lazy. Let them assume he's unfocused, because while they judge the surface, he's working underground, where roots grow deep, where foundations are formed, and where true greatness begins. And make no mistake, being underestimated is not a disadvantage. It's freedom. It's freedom from pressure, from expectations, from scrutiny. It allows him to move without noise, to think without distraction, and to prepare without interference. It gives him the upper hand, because no one sees him coming until it's too late. By the time they realize how far ahead he really is, they're already chasing dust. The lazy, ambitious man doesn't ask for validation. He doesn't need applause. His focus is not on impressing others, but on fulfilling his inner mission. And that mission is driven not by ego, but by vision. He's not here for attention. He's here for impact. The irony? The very thing society mocks him for, his quiet, his calm, his non-traditional approach, is the very thing that will make him unstoppable. Because when the world finally wakes up and sees the mountain he's built, they'll wonder how they missed it. But the truth is, they didn't miss it. They just never thought he was capable of it, and that's exactly why he succeeded. So if you're the lazy, ambitious man, stay underestimated, stay unseen, stay building in silence. Because soon, the world will hear your name, and they won't be able to ignore you anymore. He doesn't seek validation, he moves for himself. The lazy, ambitious man is dangerous not just because he's misunderstood, but because he doesn't need permission to move. He doesn't crave applause, he doesn't wait for encouragement, he isn't fueled by social media likes, follower counts, or praise from the crowd. He moves for one reason only: himself. That kind of self-motivation is rare in a world obsessed with external approval. People often act like mirrors, doing things just to reflect admiration back onto themselves. They want to be seen, they want to be praised, they want to feel worthy through validation. But the lazy, ambitious man, he already knows his worth. And because he knows it, he doesn't need anyone else to confirm it. He's not the type to post every win or broadcast every effort. His success is not a performance, it's a personal promise. He made a vow to himself, and that vow means more than any standing ovation could. That kind of drive terrifies society. Why? Because it can't be controlled. You can't bribe him with fame. You can't manipulate him with trends. You can't shame him into conformity. He's immune to those tactics. You see, a man who doesn't need to be seen is the hardest one to stop. He doesn't slow down because of doubt. He doesn't quit because no one believes in him. He's built a foundation so strong on the inside that the outside world can't shake it. That's not laziness. It's emotional discipline. That's not apathy. It's laser focus. Society tries to box people into roles: worker, grinder, overachiever, hustler, and if you don't fit, you get labeled as lazy. But what if the refusal to play by those rules is actually wisdom? What if sitting back, observing, strategizing, and planning your rise quietly is the smart move? This man doesn't take every opportunity. He doesn't chase every dollar. He knows that alignment is more valuable than speed. Rest is just as important as motion, and that intention is more powerful than impulse. He's not reactive, he's deliberate. So when people criticize him for not doing enough, what they don't understand is that he's actually doing more than most. He's just doing it in silence. Every book he reads, every quiet hour he spends in thought, every plan he refines in solitude, it's all progress. But progress society can't see is often mistaken for laziness. Let them talk. Because when you don't move for attention, you're free to move for purpose. And purpose is what builds empires. Purpose is what creates legacy. Purpose is what separates noise from greatness. The lazy, ambitious man is not chasing the world. He's creating one that fits his soul. And that is the most powerful move of all. He understands the power of timing. The lazy, ambitious man is often underestimated because people confuse movement with momentum. They assume that if he's not always grinding, always posting, always talking, then he must not be serious. But that's where society gets it wrong. He understands timing, and that makes him far more powerful than the ones who are constantly busy but going nowhere. In a culture addicted to speed, this man values patience. Not because he lacks drive, but because he understands that not all progress is loud. He's not in a rush to prove himself because he's focused on positioning himself. That's a different game entirely. Think about chess. The most strategic players don't move pieces for the sake of activity. They move with intention. They wait, observe, and let the board shift before striking. That's what the lazy, ambitious man does. While others are reacting to the pressure of hustle culture, he's calculating. He's watching trends, learning from others' mistakes, saving his energy for the right opening. And when the time is right, he strikes with precision. People call him lazy because they don't see the inner work. They don't see the midnight thinking sessions, the long stretches of learning, or the quiet days of introspection. They don't realize that silence isn't idleness. It's preparation. And when you're built for something bigger, you can't afford to waste your time on what's loud but empty. He's not wasting energy chasing what doesn't align with his vision. That restraint takes more discipline than people realize. It's easy to get caught up in the race, to chase clout, to compete with the noise. But this man, he stays still on purpose because he knows every seed grows best when it's planted in the right season. Timing isn't just about patience. It's about trusting the process. And he does. He trusts that his moment will come, not because he is entitled to it, but because he's preparing for it. Every quiet day is a brick. Every silent move is a step. Every moment spent waiting is actually a moment spent building. And when his time arrives, he won't have to announce it. He won't have to scream for recognition. The results will speak so loudly, no words will be needed. That's why society fears him. Because he's not wasting his time in panic mode. He's not blowing his energy trying to be first. He's sitting in the shadows, mastering his moment. And when he emerges, it won't be a spark. It'll be a wildfire. So the next time they call you lazy for not rushing, smile quietly, because they don't know what you're building behind the scenes. But soon, they will. He doesn't beg for opportunities. He creates them. The lazy, ambitious man doesn't wait for someone to hand him a seat at the table. He doesn't spend his days networking out of desperation or groveling for recognition. Why? Because deep down, he knows this truth. Real power doesn't beg, it builds. While others are busy chasing validation and favor, he's quietly building a life so valuable, opportunities become the ones chasing him. This man operates with quiet confidence. He may not be loud, flashy, or constantly showcasing what he's working on, but trust this, he's always building. His silence is not surrender. His inactivity is not incompetence, it's restraint, it's discipline, it's strategy. You see, the world teaches you to constantly seek approval. From school to the workplace, we're trained to believe that we must ask for permission to shine. But the lazy, ambitious man rejects that conditioning. He understands that when you wait for permission to be great, you stay dependent on someone else's timing. Instead, he builds his own lane. He doesn't complain about closed doors. He finds a wall and builds a window. He doesn't cry over missed chances. He studies, adapts, and creates a new way forward. And because of that, he becomes dangerous to the system that relies on obedience and dependency. He's the type who gets rejected by an employer and then starts a business that outgrows the company that denied him. He's the one who is overlooked in rooms filled with egos, yet becomes the one everyone eventually wants in their circle. And the most terrifying part, he does it quietly. No announcements, no bragging, no desperate chasing, just work, reflection, alignment, and execution. Society fears this man because he removes the illusion that success only comes through external approval. He proves that you don't need to be chosen to rise, you can choose yourself. He creates opportunity. Unities through skill, through patience, through vision. And when he steps into the spotlight, it's not because he fought for it, it's because he became undeniable. And that's power. Because power isn't about being invited, it's about being necessary. This man becomes necessary to the industry, to the conversation, to the movement because he brings value that cannot be ignored. And society doesn't know how to handle that. Because once people realize they don't have to chase the system loses control. So when they call him lazy, it's really fear. When they say he's wasting time, it's really panic. Because deep down, they know he's not waiting for a seat at their table. He's building a whole new table. And when it's finished, he'll be too powerful to ignore. He redefines productivity on his own terms. Society has a dangerous habit. It worships the hustle. It celebrates exhaustion, glorifies burnout, and praises people who sacrifice their well-being for a paycheck or public praise. But the lazy, ambitious man isn't interested in that version of success. He's not going to destroy his mind and body just to prove to people he's worthy. Instead, he redefines productivity on his own terms. And that's exactly what makes him so threatening. See, we've been conditioned to believe that if you're not constantly doing something visible, working overtime, running errands, filling your calendar, then you're falling behind. But the lazy, ambitious man challenges that mindset completely. He knows that true productivity isn't about being busy, it's about being effective. He doesn't move for the sake of movement, he moves with purpose. He's not interested in rushing to show the world he's working. He's more concerned with aligning his actions with impact. That might mean taking long pauses, stepping away from social noise, saying no to draining commitments, or working in solitude when everyone else is performing for attention. And guess what? That scares people. Because when someone walks away from the rat race, from the always grinding narrative, and still succeeds, It makes others question their own pace, their own priorities. It threatens the societal script that says, you must bleed to succeed. This man says, no, I must breathe to succeed. He values rest, stillness, and internal clarity. He trusts that powerful ideas don't come from pressure, they come from space. He understands that not all progress can be measured by a time clock or a productivity app. That's why he might sleep in and still get more done in 2 hours than others do in 12. Because when he does act, he acts with deep focus and direction, no wasted motion, no mindless plea, just intentional results. And this redefinition of productivity terrifies the system. Because if more people start realizing that success doesn't require suffering, if more people start valuing peace over pressure, if more people stop equating worth with overwork, then the entire foundation of control crumbles. Corporations can't exploit him, culture can't shame him, peer pressure can't move him. He becomes untouchable. By mastering his time on his own terms, he becomes the ultimate rebel in a world obsessed with speed and status. He doesn't rush, he doesn't chase, he doesn't compete. He aligns, he creates, he evolves. And that evolution becomes unstoppable. So while they mock his pauses, while they question his pace, deep down, they're watching, they're confused, and eventually, they're inspired. Because the lazy, ambitious man proves something powerful. You don't have to burn out to build. You don't have to collapse to rise. You don't have to suffer to shine. And that truth, it's a revolution all by itself. He doesn't compete, he creates. Here's where the lazy, ambitious man becomes truly dangerous to the system. He doesn't waste his energy trying to compete. He's not sizing people up. He's not obsessing over someone else's path. He's not playing games to be better than the next person. Because while the world is locked in competition mode, comparing, calculating, mimicking, he's doing something far more radical. He's creating. And not just creating projects or profits. He's creating a lifestyle, a mindset, a rhythm that works for him. He doesn't need validation to make his moves. He doesn't need applause to start. He builds silently, strategically, authentically. You see, competition is the trap society sets to keep people distracted. It says, if you want to win, beat everyone else. And people fall for it. They waste time watching other people's lives, trying to copy their formulas, racing to prove they're worthy, without ever asking themselves what truly matters to them. But the lazy, ambitious man, he opts out of that nonsense. He's not in a race. He's in the lane of his own design. He creates because creation gives birth to freedom. When you create, you stop reacting and start shaping your world. You stop mimicking and start expressing. And once a man realizes that his power lies in his originality, not in outperforming others, he becomes untouchable. That's the truth that scares people. That's the power society doesn't want you to tap into. Because when you stop competing, you stop being controlled. When you create, you become self-sufficient. When you create, you disrupt the system that profits from your insecurity. They can't sell you envy. They can't manipulate your goals. They can't trap you in loops of comparison. And that threatens everything. The lazy, ambitious man refuses to be a puppet in a popularity contest. He would rather build something meaningful, even, in silence, than chase applause for something fake. His vision is inward-focused first. He listens to his intuition. He follows his internal compass, not the noise of the crowd. And ironically, by not competing, he rises above those who do. Because creation always outlasts competition. A copy fades. A creation leaves a legacy. So while others burn themselves out trying to keep up, he's building a life they'll wish they had. A life with peace. A life with power. A life designed, not dictated. He doesn't seek permission. He doesn't need the stage. He doesn't chase the spotlight. He becomes the light. And in a world where everyone's running to win a game that's rigged, the man who creates instead of competes, he's already free. His mind is his fortress. The lazy, ambitious man doesn't just operate differently, he thinks differently. And that terrifies the world. You see, most people are mentally exhausted before the day even starts. They wake up with anxiety, scroll through distractions, and let their environment program their emotions. They live on autopilot, reacting to the world instead of creating their own. But the lazy, ambitious man, he protects his mental energy like gold. His mind is not up for rent. It's not a battleground for society's noise. It's his fortress. He chooses silence over senseless chatter. He guards his peace from chaos. He doesn't engage in arguments that lead nowhere. Why? Because he knows the power of mental clarity. He knows that once your mind is distracted, you've already lost control. And a distracted man is a defeated man. So while others are drowning in stimulation, news, gossip, notifications, he is still, centered, and strategic. That's why he doesn't need to move fast. He moves right. His stillness isn't laziness, it's focus. His detachment isn't carelessness, it's mastery. You see, people misunderstand the lazy, ambitious man because they're addicted to hustle without direction. They believe the louder you are, the stronger you seem. But strength isn't about noise, it's about discipline, and discipline starts in the mind. He doesn't waste thoughts on resentment or revenge. He doesn't replay failures or imagine worst-case scenarios. Instead, he uses his imagination to build, to plan, to visualize. He mentally rehearses the life he's building over and over until it becomes reality. This is what separates him from the masses. He's not just ambitious in action, he's ambitious in thought. And the truth is, you can't control a man who has mastered his mind. He won't be manipulated by marketing. He won't be baited into emotional reactions. He won't crumble under reassure or fear public opinion. He's too grounded, too aware. Society doesn't know what to do with a man like that. They can't sell him insecurity. They can't hook him on dopamine. They can't distract him with drama because he's playing an inner game. And he's winning. People fear what they can't influence, and you can't influence a man whose mind is his own. So while others look for external motivation, he becomes self-driven. While others look for approval, he becomes self-assured. And while others lose themselves in the noise, he sharpens his thoughts like a sword. He is calm, but not passive. He is quiet, but not weak. He is still, but not stuck. His mind is a fortress, and in a world full of chaos, that fortress is his superpower. He knows, if you win in the mind, you win everywhere else. He doesn't rush because he knows his time is coming. The lazy, ambitious man lives with a deep, unshakable knowing. His time is coming. And because of that inner certainty, he doesn't need to rush. He doesn't need to force. He doesn't need to panic. That's what separates him from the crowd. Most people are in a constant race, running toward goals they don't even understand, chasing validation that leaves them empty, sprinting without direction, driven by fear rather than faith. But not him. He moves slowly because he moves deliberately. He knows that anything built in desperation will eventually collapse under pressure. He doesn't confuse movement with progress. Society tells us that unless you're grinding every second, unless you're showcasing your hustle, you're falling behind. But this man has unplugged from that illusion. He understands that great things take time and that nothing powerful is ever rushed. A lion doesn't chase every antelope it sees. It waits, it watches, it conserves energy, and then it strikes with precision. That's the lazy, ambitious man. He's not concerned with being seen hustling. He's focused on mastering his moment. He studies in silence. He works in shadows. He lets everyone else exhaust themselves in the noise while he prepares in peace, because when his time comes, he won't need to announce it. His results will speak for him. See, people misunderstand patience. They think patience is weakness, but patience is power under control. It's the ability to stay calm in the gap between who you are and who you're becoming. And that's where he thrives, in the gap. He's not watching the clock, he's watching his growth. He's not counting the hours, he's counting his lessons. He's not chasing trends, he's building a legacy, and that's what society fears. Because society can't exploit a man who's not in a rush. They can't sell him shortcuts. They can trap him in the hamster wheel of burnout. He's not addicted to instant gratification, and that makes him immune to manipulation. He trusts divine timing. He trusts his intuition. He trusts that when the doors open, he'll be ready because he's spent the waiting season preparing. It takes real courage to move at your own pace in a world obsessed with speed. It takes strength to believe in the value of your timing when others doubt your methods. But that's exactly what makes the lazy, ambitious man so powerful. He doesn't fear delay. He uses it. He refines his strategy. He deepens his character. He sharpens his mindset. He does in silence what others only wish they had the discipline to do. So when his time comes, and it will come, he won't just rise, he'll dominate. And the same world that once laughed at his stillness will stand in awe of his storm. He is quietly building an empire no one sees until it's too late. While the world watches the loud, the flashy, the constantly visible, there's a man in the background doing something far more powerful. He is quietly building, slowly, intentionally, and in silence. He's laying the bricks of an empire no one even knows exists. And that's what makes him dangerous. He's not posting every win. He's not asking for permission. He's not broadcasting his next move. He's doing the work that matters when no one is watching. You see, the lazy, ambitious man has mastered one of life's most underestimated principles. Move in silence. Let success make the noise. The world trains us to show everything, every step, every struggle, every progress update. But true greatness doesn't need to be flaunted. He's learned that premature exposure leads to unnecessary resistance. That when people see your vision too early, they either try to steal it, sabotage it, or shrink it down to their level of understanding. So he keeps it hidden, not out of fear, but out of wisdom. He knows that powerful things grow best in the dark. Seeds don't break the soil overnight. Roots grow before branches ever stretch toward the sky. And that's exactly how he operates, developing depth before display, strength before shine. What the world sees as laziness is actually strategy. What they call wasting time is actually long-term positioning. What they mock as doing nothing is really masterful preparation. While they chase fast fame, he's chasing forever. He's building foundations so solid that when the storms of life come, and they always come, his structure won't fall. And by the time they notice what he's been creating, it will already be too late. His success will be undeniable, untouchable, and unstoppable. Why? Because he built it brick by brick in silence, and didn't need anyone's validation to do it. He didn't need applause to stay disciplined. He didn't need motivation to stay focused. He didn't need a crowd to feel worthy. And that makes him a different kind of man. Society doesn't know how to handle men like him, men who don't seek attention, who don't broadcast their grind, who don't move with the herd, because such men are free from the addiction to approval, free from the pressure to perform, free from the cage of comparison. By the time the world turns around to ask, where did he come from? He's already established, already respected, already winning. Not because he was loud, but because he was loyal to his mission. So if you feel misunderstood, if people call you lazy because you don't perform your ambition for the world, let them talk. Let them underestimate. Let them remain distracted. You're not here to prove anything. You're here to build everything. Silently, steadily, strategically. And when the curtain lifts, they'll see an empire they never saw coming, the power they can't understand. So here's the truth, raw and unfiltered. Society doesn't fear the lazy, ambitious man because he's lazy. It fears him because it can't control him. It fears what it can't predict, what it can't define, what it can't label, box up, and sell. He is a disruption. He is not easily motivated by public praise or groupthink. He moves when he chooses, not when others demand. And that terrifies a world addicted to instant results, shallow validation, and external noise. The lazy, ambitious man is not truly lazy. He is resting strategically. He is observing silently. He is learning deeply. And when the moment calls, he strikes with focus, precision, and a calm intensity the world doesn't expect. This man doesn't rush the process. He doesn't chase attention. He doesn't operate out of desperation. He understands that the loudest in the room are often the most insecure. But he is rooted, anchored, waiting. And when he moves, mountains shift. He is the definition of long-term power, hidden, undisturbed, and quietly brewing in the depths. People mock what they can't grasp. They call him lazy because they don't see the gears turning inside. They mistake silence for weakness, solitude for failure, stillness for stagnation. But still waters run deep. And one day, the very ones who laughed at his stillness will be shaken by the force of his emergence. Let this be your reminder. If you feel unseen, don't panic. If they misunderstand your process, don't explain. If they call you lazy while you're planning your next decade, let them talk. Your silence is not weakness, it's wisdom. Your pace is not laziness, it's strategy. Your solitude is not loneliness, it's preparation. Society only respects what it can measure, monetize, and manipulate. But you were never meant to be measured. You were built to be a force of nature, slow, steady, and unstoppable. Don't rush to show the world your blueprint. Let your empire rise while they sleep. By the time they see it, it'll be too late to deny it. By the time they realize what you were doing, it'll be too massive to stop. By the time they try to understand, you'll already be living the life they said was impossible. So stay quiet, stay focused, stay dangerous. Because one day they'll ask, where did he come from? And the answer will echo. He was building while you were watching. Be the man they never saw coming. Move like smoke, hit like thunder. Silence is your strategy. Success is your revenge. Let them sleep on you. You're building what they'll never wake up from. They feared the lazy man because he dared to dream without performing.